established rich coming right back at you. This is not a hit piece. This is a breakdown of numbers, timelines, and a pattern of more and more excuses. We are talking about Dr. Umar Johnson and a school that has been promised for years with no result. This ain't about emotion. This is about what was said, when it was said, and what actually happened after that. Let's start with the foundation of this entire situation, which is money. Because when money is involved, everything else has to be accounted for with precision. By his own words, over time, he has accumulated $750,000 from supporters. That number represents the trust from people who believed in his vision of building a school. Now, fast forward to when it was time to purchase the property for that school. He states he only had $500,000 available at the time. That leaves a difference of $250,000 that has yet to be explained. This ain't about attacking a person. This is about asking a basic question that any donor would ask. What happened to the money? Not what was the plan, not what was the intention, but where did the money go? When you take donations from the public, you are no longer just a speaker. You are a master of resources. And a master of resources is required to be transparent with every dollar. Now let's move from the money timeline to the school. Because even if we set the money question aside, the progress should still be clear. Over the years, there have been moments where the school was presented as being close to opening. Not years away, not a long-term ideal, but months away.
I'm glad we went the way that we went. It's the first school in American history built exclusively by donations from African people from around the world. Every single continent, nearly every country donated to FDMG.
So when are you going to be opening the doors where students can start?
Well, we got to get a certificate of occupancy. I can't answer that. You feel me? That see, it's always something holding me. If we had it right now, I'm confident we can start August, not this year because you only got a few months, but of 2027. You feel me? But the question becomes, here we go again. We're completely done. How long before you give us our paper so we can start planning for the children? And I can't answer that.
Now, you can hear the confidence in his delivery. You can hear the certainty that things are moving forward towards an opening. Now, here's where we apply simple logic. If something is presented as nearly complete, it should reach completion within a reasonable amount of time. If a project is close, it should not still be incomplete years later without a clear, detailed explanation. But what we have seen is a continuous loop of excuses without any progress. This is not a one-time delay. This is a pattern of expectations being promised but never fulfilled. Now let's layer this with history, because this is not just one interview. This is years of multiple statements.
The school is absolutely done. The school is fully done. The school is completely done. And on Tuesday, because government is closed on Monday to celebrate white supremacy presidency. The government is closed on Monday to celebrate white supremacy presidency. But on Tuesday, I'll be contacting the city to request an inspection of the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Elementary School and Gym. Brothers and sisters, thank you for those of you who stood with me. Not the fakes and the phonies. Not those who act like you supported me but didn't trust me, didn't believe me. You listened to the struggle streamers and the scammers. You believed them.
The language sound familiar? The energy sound familiar? The promises sound familiar, but the results still remain the same. No school open for the public. When the message repeats but the results don't change, that's a red flag. When the timeline continues to shift without clear accountability, that's a problem. Now let's talk about the platform's responsibility, because the Breakfast Club has been a place where this conversation has happened multiple times. When somebody returns to your platform with updated claims, you have a responsibility to compare those claims to what was said before. You have a direct responsibility to ask what changed and what hasn't. Because without that, the interview becomes a cycle of statements without verification. And that cycle allows confusion to continue without clarity. Now let's bring this back to the community impact, because this situation does not exist in isolation. When people see a project like this stall over years, it creates doubt in future projects. It makes people hesitant to support the next person who comes with a vision. It makes people question whether their support will be used properly. And that damage goes beyond one individual. Now let's simplify the entire situation into 3 points. There's a financial gap that has not been clearly broken down. There's a timeline that has been extended without final results. And there's a pattern of promises that continue without delivery. That is not confusion. That's a structure of questions that need answers. And until those answers are direct, specific, and consistent, the doubt is not going nowhere. Now, we laid out the money and we laid out the timeline. So now we have to address the excuses. Because when numbers don't add up and results don't show up, the next thing that always shows up is excuses. Over the years, multiple reasons have been given as to why the school ain't open. Those reasons range from permits to contractors to community support not showing up the way it should. Now, on the surface, any one of those issues can be real. But when all of them show up over and over again without resolution, they stop sounding like obstacles and start sounding like a pattern of movement without a rival.
On August the 5th, the city of Wilmington, Delaware, took out a notice to auction off the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy campus for unpaid vacant property registration fees. I repeat, on August the 5th, the city of Wilmington, Delaware, took out a lien to auction off the campus we bought, the campus we've been working on for 6.5 years. I was not notified of this. We were not notified of this. This past weekend, without an email, this past weekend, without a letter in the mail, this past weekend, without a phone call, the city of Wilmington put a notice on the door handle of both of our schools, informing me that if we don't pay the past due vacant property registration fees and outstanding utilities by the 25th of Black August, they will sell our campus.
Coming back from that, listen to how the responsibility is framed. Listen to whether the responsibility is internal or whether it's being placed outside. Because this is where leadership gets defined. A leader takes full ownership even when things go wrong. A leader does not consistently point to external factors without showing internal correction. If contractors were the issue, what was done to replace them? If permits were the issue, what was done to expedite them? If community support was the issue, what was done to resolve that? Because problems without solutions are just statements. And statements without solutions do not move projects forward. Now let's go back to the money again, because this the part that don't go away. When there's a $250,000 gap, every delay becomes a problem. Every excuse gets weighed against that number. Every timeline shift gets measured against that. Because money is not just numbers. Money is trust in action. And when trust is questioned, everything connected to it gets questioned. Now let's talk about accountability in a direct way. Accountability is not deflection. Accountability is not repeating the same promise with different words. Accountability is a clear breakdown of what happened, what went wrong, and what is being done to fix it. And most importantly, accountability comes with results. Without results, accountability is just language. When situations like this happen publicly, they create a wave of distrust. People start questioning if their money gonna be used the right way. And that hurts every community that project was supposed to help. Now let's address the other side of this, because it needs to be said. There are people who still support him and still believe in his vision. And that support comes from a place of really wanting to see something done for your community. But support does not remove the need for accountability. Belief does not cancel out the need for results. You can support somebody and still ask questions. You can believe in a vision and still demand proof of progress. Now let's put everything together in a clear structure. You have stated that $750,000 was raised. You had an available amount of $500,000 when it mattered most. You have years of statements that suggested the project was close. And you have a current reality where the school is still not open. That is not a complex equation. That is a straight line of inconsistencies. The final question is about delivery. When does this actually get finished? When does it actually open? When does this move from promise to reality? Because until that happens, everything else is just words. And words without results will create doubt. Now I'm gonna leave y'all with this. If you ask people for their trust, you have to earn it every step of the way. If you ask people for money, you have to account for it without question. And if you promise people a result, you have to deliver or explain to them why you didn't. Anything less than that is not leadership. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe. Establish Rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.